Salute, Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. Series over. Game. Blouses. As Captain Clutch ends the series with a 3-point shot at the death. Pistons turn it over. Game. New York Knicks. Gave away the lead. Took it back. And closed it out in 6. What did I tell y'all? Ladies and gentlemen, Knicks in 6. We did it the hard way though. Catching my breath. Let's get this thing. Let's chop it up. Series done. And condolences to Detroit, but commiserations. Great series. Let's move on now. Let's relive these heroics from our New York Knicks. Big plays down the stretch. Mikal Bridges with a tap in to tie it up. Josh Hart, loose ball scrambles. Karl Anthony Towns, steal on Jalen Duren. And the New York Knicks advance to the Eastern Conference semi-finals. Let's go. Let's go, Knicks. We did it. They did it for the city, for the fans. And man, we couldn't take a game 7. We said it, man. The players didn't want it. No one wanted a game 7, man. And the Knicks just did not quit, man. I never gave up, man. Tell the truth. Did you give up? Did you give up hope? Man, I won't hold it against you, man. I didn't give up. I've seen some crazy stuff, man. That's one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. And I feel like it was just a fitting way to end what is a crazy first round series, man. That trumps Philadelphia from last year. I mean, there's no other way to describe it in terms of a series. Just an absolutely insane series. Once a Knick, always a Knick sums it up, man. Brunson said no game 7, man. He crossed up Osar Thompson just when the timeline was starting to give Osar Thompson his props for clamping down Brunson on the earlier possession. Brunson came back with the heady play, man. He knew what was going to happen, and he knew what he needed to do, man. A killer crossover, one of the filthiest you'll see, man, for the 40-piece series 4-2. Detroit and Little Caesars Arena, man. No Little Caesars tonight. 3 losses on the bounce at Little Caesars Arena, and the Knicks made it difficult. We should have ended this one earlier, man, as we look at this crazy graph right now. This just basically sums it up, man. It's just absolutely insane. We look at the wire to wire. I mean, without showing anyone this game, if they haven't seen it, show them this, and it's like only Knicks, only cardiac Knicks. Biggest lead 15. Detroit has 7-point lead, man, with about 2 minutes left. 7-point lead with 2 minutes left. And the Knicks got stops, man. There was a lot of stop-start action, and I think that gave the Knicks rest. It allowed them to compose themselves. A lot of dicey challenge call situations, right? The Knicks on the wrong end of one of them, on the correct end of the other one, with the JB and one. Go ahead. But if you don't already know, now you know. You never give up if you have a player like Jalen Brunson on your team, because he's the clutchest player in the NBA, right? And you got to give Osar Thompson credit. He's coming. What a great perimeter defender. But what do they always say, ladies and gentlemen? Good offense beats good defense, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why you pay big-time shot makers, fam. Salute. Got chills watching that late and chopping it up with you guys right now, man. That was Kobe-esque right now. Conversations are going to be had. You know, how clutch is Jalen Brunson right now? How about that play under the basket where he almost lost his balance, and it looked like he was about to go down, but those sturdy, stocky legs of the Brunson clan was able to keep him upright, and he finished in traffic under Dennis Schroeder, who was trying to undercut him as well. Shouts out to OG Anunoby and the crew. Shouts out to Macau, Hart, and Cat dealing with the foul trouble. The bench was a no-show. We've got plenty of time to talk about that, but we're moving on, ladies and gentlemen. The series is done, and the New York Knicks move forward now and advance to the semi-finals now for the third consecutive year. The New York Knicks shot 33% from downtown. Right, Malik Beasley couldn't miss in the first half, but the Knicks did a good job turning the water off. Cade, solid series. I'm not going to use this opportunity to slander Cade, but he came up small. He came up small late. He didn't want to shoot the three. They were daring him to shoot the three all game, and clever OG was going under the screens. But yeah, OG powered to that and one. In this one, the crowd, the chat is absolutely buzzing right now. Salute to all of you, Knicks family. My stress level was through the roof, says Rover. Yep. What a nerve-wracking game, says Lily. Angel says we beat the refs and the Pistons. Cat getting mauled all game, yeah. How about that call where Brunson was being pulled behind by Timmy Hardaway or Schroeder, and we didn't get that call? Emmanuel sums it up, man. The streets are buzzing, baby. Look, we didn't do it the pretty way, but let's feel happy, celebrate, hug your family, Nick's family as well. We did it. Tough series, 6 games. Obviously, we breathe a huge sigh of relief, man. This could give us a chance to make some noise next round, because you don't want to go back for a game 7, man. I'll tell you right now, a game 7 would have been a toss of a coin. I can't really say either way. I don't know how these guys would have been feeling, but the good thing is they didn't let it get to that point, man. Gave up the lead. But again, once again, all 3 games at Little Caesars, man, have been absolutely insane. As we pull up the box score now, and how do we give out a game ball tonight, guys? Let us know. 40 points from Jalen Brunson, +5. 3 of 10 from downtown. 15 of 33 from the field. Karl-Anthony Towns was bedeviled by foul trouble, fouled out. Josh Hart, foul trouble as well. We really did beat the refs. Angel, you're on point. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows the NBA wanted this thing to go 7. But Brunson said no 7, man. Shout out Emmanuel, clutch player of the year. Yep. T says Brunson burner. Taught Shrew and the Pistons. Yep. Physicality. I think attrition, sort of, the fact that the Knicks have sort of gone through the trenches, and you see Brunson, he pays props to Thibodeau because, the heavy minutes is a topic, obviously, all season. But when it's go time, who's the most prepared? The New York Knicks will be the most prepared team. We've talked about it. We lacked options off the bench, and the offense did get stagnant. That's what happens. It's a blessing and a curse. When your best player is a 6'2" point guard, with blessed with generational scoring abilities. But the truth is, he's 6'2", and it's difficult at times. But yeah, we need some more help. Help will be on its way, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about that. We're going to talk about some stories coming out of Boston, set to make some moves and shake things up in Boston at the end of this season. But our season ain't done yet. Mikal Bridges, man. This was the biggest clutch performance of Mikal Bridges' Knicks career. He threw it down on Cade, and he got into his face in that one, and the bench was bigging him up. Great contest by OG in that one, but Bridges took it strong, finally to the rack, looking for the foul, but he finished in traffic on the head of Cade Cunningham. Great season from Cade, but he'll have a lot to think about this series. But let's fast forward all the way to the final play, because I've got that for all of y'all right here. The guy who was talking the most trash, questioning the Knicks' will and the heart and physicality, fumbled the ball, man. You can't make this up. Ladies and gentlemen, Malik Beasley. I've got to check how much time was left on the clock, because I don't know how much time he would have had to really fire that one up. Let's check it. 4 seconds. Great defense, by the way, on this final possession. Okay, he gets it. Yeah, he would have had enough time. He would have had about a second, maybe 1.3. I think he caught it with 1.3, fam. But he heard footsteps. He heard these footsteps of the gritty New York Knicks ready to close out in that one. But great possession, man. Grit, determination to come from behind and close this one out, man. That one's got to hurt. 3 losses from Little Caesars, but they got what the NBA wanted, man. 3 games in Detroit for their owner to make some money. But we closed this thing out in 6. We should have closed it out in 5. But they did it for Cat, who fouled out. And what gritty play to get a stop. Man, it brings back 90s vibes to get a stop to win the series, man. A clutch bucket to take the lead and a stop as well, man. We got both. We got both tonight, man. A clutch stop and a go-ahead bucket. A double bang from Mike Breen. And you guys let me know, does this surpass the series from Philadelphia? I mean, shades of Dante hitting that shot. But, you know, all things remain the same. We still have the captain, man, Jalen Brunson. What a most heroic performance. Like I said, that play, that go-ahead 3, we've seen that so many times. But the one under the basket, you know, that the grit and determination of that basket where he was falling out of bounds, off balance, was crazy. Doug Fresh, Big Dave, salute. Simon says Macau gave us one of the picks back with that putback. I like that. CC, salute. Gritty, not pretty. On to the next. Yep. El Tango says this prepared us for Beantown. Buzzer Beater says it wears. Susan says Buzzer, it wears me out. And Sandman, welcome in. Yeah, the coaching, you know, will sound like a broken record, but obviously the Knicks were in a commanding position. But shout out to an adjustment they made, a key adjustment, guys. The Knicks came out after halftime and got into a layup line, courtesy of suggestion by Macau, and it worked out. The New York Knicks won the first third quarter of the series, and you could now say that it won us the game. You know, it won us the series. Yeah, we collapsed a bit late. And I do got to put that on the foot of a lot of the bench players. You know, you get a little bit out of your bench, and this game is over earlier. Deuce McBride with critical misses and fumbles, right? But I'm not going to get on Deuce too much right now. Things need to be changed. We need to make an adjustment. Let's see what Thibodeau does for Boston, and we'll have plenty of time to preview that, guys. But we're enjoying another series win, and we never take this for granted, man. The streets are still buzzing. We can't take it for granted. Buzzer says, great game. Was this series closer than what it should have been? 100%, 110%. We should have closed it out in 5, fam. But if you live to fight another day, like the wise chat is saying right now, you know, it builds character. You know, Brunson, look at the way they play. Hart, always in the face of adversity. Villanova, they did it. All their Knicks career, they've been doing it. And we're just gritty, man. It's finally time for people to talk about this Knicks team, that the grit is still there, the nucleus. They showed us grit in this series. Mikal Bridges made some gritty plays tonight, whether you're a big Mikal fan or not. Karl Anthony Towns with the big steal on Jalen Duren. The game was almost over at that point. And he made one of the most gritty plays of the series as well, without fouling. And of course, Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart, we don't really need to speak on their grit at all, man. And finally, a lot of the national media now jumping back on the JB train as well. The crowd was fueling him with the flopper chant, and they were shouting the FU. But Sam Bassini says completely filthy crossover from Brunson. Kevin O'Connor says what a filthy move from JB. Dan Devine says that's a bad man. They ain't gonna learn right now. And can we say this right now? The Knicks had the best player in the series, ladies and gentlemen. He won the series. Blouses, right? Game blouses. Cade Cunningham missed the layup, didn't get his teammate involved. Although I'm not blaming Cade if I'm a Pistons fan, because they don't have enough help. But JB made the biggest play of the series, go-ahead basket, and go-ahead layups as well. Knicks had the best player in the series now. All these frauds can put some respect on his name, man. He's been there, done that. And I'm going to bring up this graphic. I had a great feeling it would close it out. And I was just bookmarking this graphic earlier. We had the back page of the New York Post. It was Hero Hour with his cape and the hero rose in Gotham in this one. Him and Michael Jordan. Yep. Two GOATs alongside each other right now. Let's take a look. Jalen Brunson, before tonight, was in rarefied air with his airness, MJ, as the first two players to start the playoffs with 4 consecutive 30-point games, man. No more disrespect right now. No more disrespect. Calling these young guys better player in the series, but yep, we're battle tested, says Angel. Yep, we can only improve, 100%. I know the Pistons have a bright future and they're coming, but too many people talking like the Knicks won't improve, you know. We did 2 big trades on the eve of the season, and our bench is porous. You know, we need to fix that up, and we will. But I think, you know, nothing's given. It's all earned, you know. The Pistons would have taken a lot of games off a lot of teams, you know. Let's call it like it is. They would have taken 2-3 games off Milwaukee as well. They would have possibly even beat Indiana, you know. They were a tricky matchup for us, I think, with size. You know, Cade is 6'7". He was given OG fits at some points throughout the season. And I think that needs to be said as well, because when it comes to fights, styles make fights, you know, and Cade was having his way with different guys throughout the series. They got the shooters as well. Malik Beasley, man, he picked a hell of a time to finally wake up in the first half, but the New York Knicks turned out the lights, right? No Little Caesars for these guys. It's Cancun. Off to Cancun for the Detroit Pistons, man. They're going to lament giving up that lead, but the Knicks just never have that quit, man. And how sweet it is that, like I said earlier, guys, that so many players made key plays. Cat steal on Duran, Bridges jam and putback, Jalen Brunson's bucket, OG Anunoby drive and one, and block. And of course, Josh Lionheart, man, fighting for those offensive rebounds, finished a plus 13. I think we should start with Josh Hart in this one, because you look at a guy that played 34 minutes, plus 13 points, gave us 10 rebounds and 4 assists as well. I thought we kind of lost our way when Hart was off the floor. His screen setting, ball handling is critical. He hit a key 3 as well. Went 1 of 1 from downtown. Josh Hart was a Lionheart in this one. OG Anunoby up next. And I'm going to give the grades out rapid fire after we've given all the flowers out. OG, 44 minutes, 6 of 14. He gave us 22 points, man. On a night where Cat didn't have a lot going, OG stepped up. 3 steals, 2 blocks, man. 5 stocks from OG, the pit bull in that one. Tim Hardaway Jr., man, the fake tough guy, shoved him to the ground. And unfortunately, the Knicks didn't have a challenge to look at that. That would have been a flagrant, man. He basically shoved OG into the ground. But OG let his play do the talking tonight, man. 5 stocks from our defensive stopper. And if we just pull up the votes, Dyson Daniels won most improved player. But OG Anunoby got some respect. OG Anunoby received a second place vote for most improved player, right? Was snubbed for the defensive player, but definitely OG's had himself an amazing year. And this series just puts his stock even higher, right? As we had Clyde make the trip all the way to Detroit, man. And this could have been and might well be his final playoff game on the call. But no doubt he'll be there with his presence. He'll be there in the building for the next series. However, no MSG on the call. So if this is Clyde Frazier's final call, playoff game, final playoff game call on the New York Knicks, man, salute to a Hall of Famer, salute to a legend, and salute to one of the greatest, man, one of the greatest of all time, on the court, off the court. Let's hope that we're going to see a more of Walt Clyde on the call, but it does look like this could have been his final playoff game, though under bittersweet circumstances as the Knicks advance to the second round now, but it's onwards to the national media, the national broadcast. But we got blessed with a double bang in potentially Clyde's final game, final playoff game, sorry. And we're going to relive that once again and give out these grades. But Mikhal's up next. Let's talk about him. Was dishing and swishing early, getting to the cup, a lot more aggressive. I think he's definitely, Mikhal has, warmed up as the series has gone along. Started slow, definitely better on the road. You could say that about Brunson. You could say that about Hart as well. I think they're definitely bringing that gritty culture in terms of, they're used to these playoff battles. Hart, especially Brunson in Villanova, but Bridges playing in the NBA Finals. I think his experience tonight really helped. Like he said, he dropped the S-bomb on MSG. He apologized, but you could see the emotion, the adrenaline was fueling through Mikhal's veins as he, got the walk-off interview. But he said his teammate said, crash the glass on that one. He knew Brunson was going to get that shot off. It fell short. And Bridges was there to save the day, man, as a Robin in this one, right? But Brunson burner was hot early. And amazing bucket making from Brunson in this one. And what a close. Deuce hit 1-3. We're going to talk a bit more about Deuce later tonight. We needed a bit more, and I felt like when Brunson was out of the game, the Knicks lost control, and that's a situation where we need ball handling. We need some extra shot creation. We've got the chat, Buzz and Jazzman, what's good? AJ, what's good? Says hopefully Deuce can step up this next series. He must step up. Yep. We've got Nick, a Celtics content creator. Yeah, sure. Just drop us a comment, fam. I'm on X at Nick's Buzz. Lawrence says Villanova team still winning. Yep. I love the comments, guys. Keep it coming. Man, this is a crazy series that's come to an end, and the New York Knicks did it with grit on the road, and I think there's a lot of things we can talk about that we have to clean up. We have plenty of time to talk about that, but I feel like tonight just needs to be a time where we talk about what this team showed us, and there's a lot of things we can build on, in terms of the grit. Like, look at 3 wins. 3 of our 4 wins were on the road. You can't say that about a lot of teams. Yeah, we have to clean up the home record, and there's a lot to go into that. Coaching, clock management, execution, and all of that. But we do have the core of a championship squad, I believe, because, you look at the grit, determination, adversity that we've been facing all season. Look at Brunson. I mean, the guy was, I don't know how bad his ankle was, he won't let out, he was definitely not 100% in this one, but to give us 40 points on not 100%, conditioning is just absolutely speaks to how good this player is, how good he is. And, you get him some more help, more shooters, more ball handling, and we can get there, man. We can get there, right? And you look at the other side, referees went either way. There were some bad moments from from these referees on both sides. But JB Bickerstaff was disgraceful, I felt, tonight. He was trying to use any kind of advantage he could, constantly in the face of the officials. They were getting sick of it. They didn't do anything about it. But I can understand how this Pistons team does mirror their coach. They're chippy, they're feisty, and yeah, it was a great test. It was a great test for our guys. And I'm going to be honest, if I'm to rank how we played out of 10 for the whole series, there's so much room for improvement. Now that the series is over, and I can say, yeah, Knicks in 6, as I predicted. It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. Obviously, we did get lucky in a few games. We did it the hard way, but we could have played a lot better, and I felt like our offense did get bogged down a lot. We had to answer a lot of questions about, how we're going to utilize Karl Anthony Towns, in a playoff series. We saw the New York Knicks make a few adjustments. I thought the Game 3 adjustments will be the highlight for me and getting Cat going. Tonight, a key adjustment, the whole squad coming out after halftime for a full layup line, as suggested by Mikal Bridges, and that paid dividends as the Knicks won the third quarter. And obviously, we didn't know what was to come after that and giving away the lead, but it was another good adjustment. But I'll say that the Knicks played probably 6.57 in terms of their capacity. So there's a lot of room for improvement, a lot of questions to be answered by the coach. Game 5 was a real low light, but the real highlight was 3 games on the road. For the New York Knicks squad to win 3 of the 4 games on the road, I think does speak a lot. And shouts out to the crowd in Detroit, because it was a really, really hostile environment. Really hostile. I think probably more hostile than Philadelphia last season, and maybe the same as Indiana. Maybe slightly more hostile. What do you guys think about that? To go into a hostile environment and close them out. Are the Pistons officially a rival? Says Knicks will be 25 champs. I think so. I think Eastern Conference, traditional rivals going back in the 80s, new rivalries renewed. I think so. I think it's good for the league. They've definitely earned respect. No Isaiah Stewart, for most of the series, and he was never going to be 100% anyway. So I was never worried, even if he returned. But Jaden Ivey is a real one to watch out for next season, because he really could have been the Pistons' second best player. As Buzzer said, I always said Detroit would be a tough out. Yeah, like a real pro, man. Respect. Lionel says, no matter what happens in Boston, just be competitive. Knicks in 6. Yeah, I like that. A lot of grittiness displayed. But I think for us to have success in the next round, as a quick early preview, I think we're going to have to make some serious adjustments. Maybe call upon some players that didn't factor in this series much. I'll leave that up to you guys to decide who. But I think we might need a little bit of Precious Achiuwa in the next series. We might need a bit of DeLon Wright. We might even need PJ Tucker with the corner spacing and the veteranness experience in the next series. But that's up for Thibodeau to decide, because right now our bench needs a shake-up. I like this, Doug. Thanks for Detroit for warming us up, period. Yep. I think our hunger prevailed. We were more hungry in the end. Kind of like Rocky 2. We just didn't want to leave with the L, and they're a young team. They're kind of like torn between Cancun and the next and getting blown out by Boston. Detroit was like, do we want Cancun or do we want to get blown out by Boston, man? And then Malik Beasley said, I'm going to fumble this ball and let's go to Cancun, fam. We gave the crowd what they wanted to see. But I don't know how much is left in the tank. Like, let's find out. The Knicks, I think the series commences on Monday. I will confirm that in a minute. But I do think, yeah, the Knicks should have 3 days rest, which will be huge. OG Anunoby's going to need it, man. He was everywhere tonight with 5 stocks. 5 stocks tonight. Unbelievable game. I forgot about this shot from Jalen Brunson. The step back was able to hit it over the smaller Schroeder, but JB can't get that off over most of the taller defenders on that one. So the Knicks got a good position in that one. And look, I like the way we controlled the game outside of the whole, start of the fourth or late third. The Knicks have to clean that up. But it's a road environment. The crowd got into it. A few plays, let the crowd get into it. I think that was a bit, against us. Luke says the Pistons are going to be a team next year. Yeah, no doubt. Salute Wilson in the building. Will says, I heard JB hit a shot. Yep. Definitely, man. What are some key adjustments you guys would like to see? But Mikal Bridges, right? Closeout game, he performed. So that is something to be proud of. Someone said in the chat, we got one more pick back with Bridges' performance tonight. He showed a lot of grit. And so definitely a lot of love for Mikal Bridges. We'll pull up the grades in a minute. Next, Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns, 4 of 10. I don't know if he was dealing with something. Gave us 15 rebounds, 5 offensive, 2 steals, 2 assists. One of the biggest steals of the game. Finished with a +8, right? I think Thibodeau will be proud of Cat because this is a new, mature Cat. He's not whining with the officials. He's making plays on both sides. Because what does Thibodeau always say? If you ain't, hitting shots and the ball's not going down, how are you impacting the game in other ways? And Karl Anthony Towns made one of the biggest plays of the game, man, with the steal on Duran and locked in. Used up all 6 fouls in a gritty game. Some of the calls went against us, but I thought for the most part, Cat was great. He was gritty, finished with a +8. He's going to have to learn to be more disciplined, obviously against Boston, right? We'll talk about Mitchell Robinson and the bench up next, but how could we not talk about the closer, the captain, Jalen Brunson, another masterpiece, 40 points, 7 dimes, 4 rebounds, only 2 turnovers, +5, 2 fouls, 40 points, 7 of 8 from the stripe, 3 of 10 from downtown, man. Not afraid to put up that big shot, man. And that's why we call him the captain. When we need someone, he steps up. Kept us in it. A ton of respect for Orsar Thompson because, he's a great defender and he made life difficult. But if you look at some of the things that Brunson is doing, man, it just is out of this world. Because not many other 6'2" guards could do that with a 6'7" wing, with a high pedigree all over him as well. And I'm making him look silly with this killer crossover, man. One of the best crossovers you'll ever see, right, to win a playoff series. When NBA history does those montage and they showcase highlights from older series, no doubt in 20 years' time they'll be playing this highlight, man, of Jalen Brunson letting that guy slide, man, like an ice skater out there. He was on skates, and JB knew what he was doing. CC says we absorbed their runs. We didn't get tied up with the refs like we did in Game 5. Yeah, we knew what the deal was. Let's be honest, guys. Before the game, I knew there was going to be some crazy moments with the officials in this one, but their coach didn't keep their cool, and their players are undisciplined. We were the more disciplined team, which says a lot because we had a guy foul out. Vaughn says OG was terrific this entire series. Yeah. How many series now has he altered, man? Ever since he got in the building. Philadelphia last year, Unfortunately, I feel for OG missing Game 7 against Indiana last year as well due to the hamstring. But you see when he's healthy, man, he's a difference maker, leaving it all out there with 5 stocks tonight. Uh, Rice says the whole starting lineup needs to be cryogenically frozen for them Celtics, so they're fully ready. Thankfully, there's some time. If we were going to Game 7, man, we'd be out on our feet. But I like our chances to win one of the first 2 games against Boston. I think Boston are more vulnerable this year than last year, and we're going to have plenty of time to talk about why. But Jaylen Brown is banged up. He's dealing with a lot. And I did think Orlando gave them a really physical series, the wrist of Tatum, they're banged up. I know they finished that series in 5, but I think that the grittiness of this Knicks can get some success against Boston. We'll see how it plays out. But the first 2 games in Boston, the fact that we've just closed this series on the road tonight, we're going to be able to bring that road mentality on the road to Boston and hopefully win one of the first 2 games. And that would set up games 3 and 4 at MSG to be absolute wild, man. It's going to be absolutely wild. They're going to have the live, the watch party, the block party as well, outside MSG. It's going to be New York versus Boston, right? Semi-finals. This is the series we wanted last year, guys. We're finally blessed to get that. New York Knicks versus Boston. No more excuses now. Let's see who shows up, right? We might be the team that hits first. You never know, man. Everyone trying to clown the Knicks for going the distance with Detroit. But, I mean, you got to give Detroit respect because, they played us tough, and definitely the Knicks, are doing it at a disadvantage with their bench. The biggest worry tonight was there was just nobody that could hit a shot off the bench. Does Tibbs need to get Landry Shamet back into the rotation? Let us know. Would you put DeLon Wright? PJ Tucker can at least hit a shot in the corner. The Knicks are going to need someone to knock down some shots, as they advance. Rice says, yeah, they got some good pieces, Detroit. Will says we need to hit first after getting swept in the regular season. Yeah, no, most def. Chris Gotti says Jaylen Brown was complaining about Orlando's physicality. Buzzer says Cat must stay out of foul trouble. Yeah, we've got some Boston fans in the building. Freeway says Beasley was twerking before he caught the ball. I like that, man. He was, man. He was hearing music, man. He was hearing the music before he caught the ball. But yeah, look, rough way to end for them. He would have had 1 second left. But fortunately for us, we were up 3. And so should we have fouled anyway, maybe it wouldn't have even got to that point. I was not ready for overtime in this one, man. So I'm as happy as anyone can be right now that we finally close this one out in 6. These guys can get some more rest. But what a bad man from the captain, Jalen Brunson. And let's do the grades for the series, right? I've given out the flowers for everyone tonight. I'll talk about Mitchell Robinson in a minute. But as I dial up these grades now, you guys get involved. Give us your grades for the series. The series is done, and I want to start with Jalen Brunson. We've got to give him the grade for the series. Had his moments, ups and downs, man, like a roller coaster. Was bad in game 2, poor in game 5. Redeemed himself like always. It's like he never has 2 bad games in a row. But there's definitely some things we can learn from. Got to get that pace moving like it was in the first half and get that ball moving. Hopefully we developed a few more sets, as we executed out of timeouts late. We got to use OG. I feel like it's more of a downhill guy. OG has success when he can come off the curl like that and get downhill. He's like a freight train. And I feel like we need to, utilize that more. When OG's, standing in the corner, I feel like we're losing one of our weapons, and if we ain't going to get enough scoring from Deuce and Cam, Cat and Brunson, they're going to be nice, give us the scoring, but we're going to need more from OG as well, scoring, and Bridges as well. So hopefully we can, get OG getting downhill like that against Boston, and maybe get Jaylen Brown into some foul trouble. But look, overall, as a series for Jalen Brunson, and he's obviously going to get a game ball from tonight, as I pull that up right now. First series grade of the evening goes to Jalen Brunson, and he'll get an A. He gets the A mostly for me because, he closed the series out on the road. He showed up on the road every game, game 3, game 4, and game 6. He showed up on the road. He had one really good game at MSG and two, below average games at MSG as well. So that's the reason why I won't go A+. But as I said, you got to give credit to Detroit. It was tough to deal with. Brunson's not 100%. He only played 5 regular season games before he got back. After he got back, sorry. So, he was coming into the series. We weren't playing great basketball. We come out the other side, but there was definitely some turbulence, along the way. But I mean, he just showed the heroics tonight to help this one, and the Knicks advance. Emmanuel says JBA as well. You agree? Appreciate it. Vaughn says Clutch King. Yep. Buzzer Beater says Beasley was thinking about that after party. Yeah, in Cancun, man. I hear the sun's nice out. Yeah, how are you going to be thinking if you're Detroit? Like, they're going to be feeling, I think, overall positive, but it's definitely going to be sour taste losing all 3 games. I mean, the Knicks didn't do much better. They only won 1 game at MSG. So literally one of the most crazy series you'll come across, right? The winner of the series only won 1 game at home, and the loser of the series lost 3 games at home. But look, that's just the way it goes. Really even series. I think now a lot of people can really look at the 3-6 series like there ain't a lot in it. It ain't like it's a 1-8 or a 2-7. Usually, obviously, the 4-5 series is the most even, traditionally. But, the 3-6 series, there's not a whole lot between the two teams, there was only 7 games, I think. 7-8 games in the regular season. But I think above all else, we can take away that we have a closer, and Detroit did not have a closer. So as we move on to the next guy, I think that just speaks for itself when speaking about Jalen Brunson. To win a playoff game and win a playoff series, you need a closer. And Detroit did not have that. Most of the games were close, and it could have been a missed shot away, a turnover away from being a different story. But that's why you have a closer. And I'm not really going to get on Brunson too much about, late execution and things like that. That's how you close games out. But definitely throughout the game, you've got to get that the offense flowing. Vaughn says Bridges B+, OG A, Cat B+, Hart A, and Mitch B-. Yeah, I like the OGA. Cat, I'll get to Cat next. I might go a bit higher. Rice says hopefully Bridges is feeling good going into the second round. Yeah, you got to give him a lot of confidence. He was fired up in the walk-off interview. Cardiac says JB saved Tibbs' job tonight. Tibbs, we'll talk about that, heading into the next series. But yeah, if we lost this series, I think money would be on that. The coaching change would be coming. David says, CT, is this JB's most clutch moment as a Knick? Ooh, great question, man. Great question, and I'm normally not prisoner of the moment type person, but it's hard to argue against that. It's hard to argue against JB, this being his defining moment, clutch moment, because it don't get any more backs against the wall. We gave away a lead, coach on the brink of getting fired, having another game 7. This literally has changed an alternative, reality. So you could definitely make a strong argument, David, that this is JB's most clutch moment. Getting locked up in the possession before that one as well, and then splashing a big 3 road, man, to quiet the crowd, man. It's great for us because he loves that villain tag, man. I know Trae Young been our villain for a minute, Tyrese Halliburton, but it's just good now to have. I don't know how you guys feel, but I like the fact that these fan bases really hate Brunson now. That nice guy stuff was a bit, it's good for the national media, but you want your rivals to hate your best player. If our rivals like our best player, then there's probably something wrong. The rivals need to hate our guy because, he's causing them pain, he's causing Detroit Piston fans a lot of pain that's going to live on hopefully for a long time, and if we just the same way we remember the 90s series with MJ, Reggie Miller, you grow up a fan, you always have those villains, and he was getting it from the crowd, the FU. He was getting the flopper chants, and JB just drilled a 3 to the dome of every single Piston worldwide. Man, I felt that one when that 3 went down. Like that was heavy when that 3 went down, man. After everything we've been through, is crazy, man. Little Caesars Arena tonight. There's gonna be a lot of Knicks fans eating up some Little Caesars tonight. Yeah, AJ says, look what the 6 seed Wolves did to the 3 seed Lakers. Lucky we didn't go out like that. It just speaks to regular season ain't really, it ain't the finished thing, man. Yeah, the playoffs are the real deal, and we have playoff battle tested guys. Next up, in order of biggest player, I think we're gonna hit on Karl Anthony Towns. Next up, let me pull up the Hammer Time J, the big steal that Cat made. Yeah, Cat. Obviously, there's ups, there's downs, man. Shout out to Julius Randle for the series that he's been having as well. On that note, like AJ said, Minnesota advanced. I've been rooting for Minnesota, to have success because I like Dante, I like Julius. I think they're a good built squad with their roster. They've got a lot of depth, and I'm loving that they beat the Lakers, man. But with Karl Anthony Towns, he's come in as advertised. You get the good, you get the bad, you get the in between. But I thought we've definitely see a guy that is, a player that can win you a series. He's super impactful on both sides. And he made some gritty plays defensively this whole series. Who could forget game 1? Who could forget game 1 when Cat was a nightmare defensively for the other team using his length? We just need to get more of that, hopefully more consistently. Stay out of foul trouble, stay disciplined. But I can't put it all on Cat because defensively on the perimeter, we are sometimes lost. And Cat has to be that guy that wears the burden of, the last line of defense. I kind of wish Mitchell Robinson had been able to play more minutes. I don't know if that's Tibbs' decision or they just don't feel like he can play more. But yeah, Mitch hopefully was going to play more minutes. Hopefully next series, but we'll see how that looks with Al Horford and KP. But with Karl Anthony Towns, yeah, he showed us a lot this series. He's been a great rebounder, also elite rebounder all year. 2 steals tonight, +8, 10 points. Yeah, he didn't have it going offensively, and we need to set some more plays to get him in comfortable spots. But he hit difficult shots. His best game of the series, game 3. Unbelievable adjustments made. He came out aggressive, and that should be the blueprint for future games for Karl Anthony Towns. So I'm gonna go for Karl Anthony Towns as a series. I definitely got to agree with Vaughn. I'll go B plus. Right. I can't quite go A minus because there was just too many ups and downs. But obviously a B plus is a good grade, well above average. And I think if we can just bottle the great that we saw and eliminate some of the not great, he'll be an A, next time around. But obviously it's a lot on the coaching, on the lineups, adjustments as well. But yeah, man, Cat was intense this series. He kept his cool. He stayed in it. He was locked in. And there were a lot of question marks coming in. He's been a bit up and down throughout his playoffs career, but I think he showed enough to suggest that you keep building around him and Brunson. So yeah, we're buzzing right now as the Knicks close out the Detroit Pistons. We got the family in the building. Salute to y'all. Smash that like button. Let us know your keys to the next series. What are you looking out for? By the way, the Cavs Pacers series, that's going to be excellent. Yeah, it's been a great first round. The Denver Nuggets Clippers series, I think, is the series that's got to conclude. But man, we've obviously got the Rockets. Sorry, we've got the Rockets. The Rockets Golden State series. I'm really loving that as well. Yeah, Rice says Cat seems engaged. Our bench really has to step it up. Buzzer. Yeah, amen. AJ says sounds crazy, but there still could be a Wolves Knicks finals. Absolutely, man. You never know. You just never know. You just got to be in it. Yeah, I would love a Cavs Knicks Eastern Conference Finals, man, and that's what we're going to get if the Knicks advance. Because I feel like the Knicks' best chance at Boston is the second round. First or second round. If we had, let's say, got past Cleveland in the second round, Boston in that third round, you don't know how much the Knicks would have left in the tank. But the fact that we get Boston in the second round, look, now's our best chance, for this year, obviously. Next year we might be even stronger. We've got to see how that plays out. Before I move to the next guy, let's grade the coaches. Right. Let's cut straight to the chase. JB Bitterstaff. JB versus Tom Thibodeau. Man, it's the best of a bad bunch in this scenario. Who won the coaching battle? Thibodeau versus JB. Bitterstaff. Let us know your thoughts on the two coaching battles. I thought the Knicks made more in-series adjustments that helped them be more impactful. I thought Detroit didn't really make many in-series adjustments. They set on their decisions. Osar Thompson was the guy glued to Jalen Brunson. They were always trying to fight to get OG screened off of Cade. I thought Bitterstaff should have maybe done more to get the shooters going. Maybe he was a bit more reliant on Cade, a bit too much. But he had some guys really step up for him. Dennis Schroeder was definitely a pain. He was a pain, man. But But really, Tibbs didn't really have a good series. I'm definitely, down on Tibbs, as most of you know. He got the series win. Um, it looked a lot harder than what it could have been. I really just felt like we should have utilized our players better. Karl Anthony Towns being the most, and too many collapses. Just too much inconsistency throughout the game. I mean, I'm going to bring this graphic up once again. We looked at the graphic last time from the wire to wire, but right now it's a case of the Knicks just can't see 48 minutes. It's either dominate the game and let it slip twice in a game, like we see here. We let the lead slip twice, man. Thankfully, we had one more boost at the end to end this series. Otherwise, if this thing went 7, that might have been enough for Detroit. So Tibbs wins the series narrowly over Bitterstaff. But definitely, I feel like I'll give JB a C, and I'll give Tibbs a C plus. And a bang average grade. He won the series, but I would give JB a C, Tibbs a C plus in this one. A lot of the good and bad evened itself out with Thibodeau, but he made the most impactful adjustments, I feel like, throughout the series. So that's how I see it. And we move on, man. We get the job done. What do you guys think? Salute Mets Knicks, says all day. JB looked like MJ on that final shot that he took. Yeah, he's had a lot of practice, man. He was in rhythm. Tendrell says Knicks Wolves or Knicks Nuggets is my dream finals this year. I like both of those, yeah. I like both suggestions, but I'm going to say Knicks Thunder would be my dream finals, man. The Knicks triumphing over Isaiah Hartenstein and that SGA would be my fairy tale, man. Buzzer says Thompson slipped on that Little Caesars pizza cheese guarding Brunson. I think he probably slipped on some perspiration as well, man. The guys were going at it in this one. Emmanuel says the 3-point chuckers C's are reliant on the threes. They have no offense after that. Yeah, look, they're starting to be banged up, and I think there's a lot of doubt in that locker room. We'll hit on this later, but let me just bring up the quick story. Pre-game, we've got Shams Charania talking about the rest of the league is bracing for the Celtics to change things up, whether it be Porzingis or Drew Holiday. So those guys in that locker room for Boston, they know that it's the last dance for some of their guys. Not all of them. Obviously, their core will return, but it's got to be unsettling. That they're set for a historic payroll. Tax bill, and their payroll is crazy right now. The speculation is either Drew Holiday or Kristaps Porzingis will be traded. I already see some people working the trade machine to see how the Knicks can get Porzingis. That would be crazy, man. If the Knicks could get in on that, man. I would definitely take Porzingis back. I'm not saying the Knicks have a way to get it done, but I'm just saying hypothetically, Cat and Porzingis have a lot of respect for each other, back in the going back in the draft as well. Obviously, both have already played for the New York Knicks before as well. It'd be interesting to see, man. Who do you think Boston end up trading? Probably the most expensive player. Maybe they could keep Drew Holiday on the cheap. We'll see how that plays out. We've got an A coming through for OG. Let's talk about OG next. I like it. A for OG. Amazing series. We don't win without OG. I'm stating the obvious here right now. But what I want to highlight is the growth from OG Anunoby, because He's taken steps as an offensive player. He's known as a defensive, demon. But look at tonight, man. 22 points, carrying the load offensively, 4 of 10 from downtown. That was huge. Getting to the free throw line 7 times, 5 rebounds, assist, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers, 4 fouls, +2. A little inefficient, but look, he's having to create shots because the offensive sets aren't great. He's having to create offense for himself. I like that we are getting him into the post-up situations. If they want to switch and get a smaller man, feed OG. Let him go to work. Beat them down and draw a foul. But yeah, phenomenal series from OG. Phenomenal game. 5 stocks. He needs to be second team All D at least as a minimum. And definitely he's going to get his flowers right now. OG Anunoby, man. Unbelievable series. So I'm going to go A for OG. And definitely we've got a game ball coming up for OG Anunoby. What a performance, man. What a series. 3 of these playoff series that he's been in is super impactful. And I can't wait. I can't wait for what's next. See him up against Boston. And look, respect to Cade again, because that's been a tough situation, a tough matchup. And I feel like the fact that he's had to guard, Cade all series, coming downhill off the pick and roll, spamming that pick. I think the next series might be slightly easier for OG because Boston just have so many weapons. He's not going to be in ball screens every single possession. They're going to have Derek White bring heart into the action. They're going to have other guys as well. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think the next series will be easier for OG than this series because of the Cade matchup in the way that the Pistons just run every single play through him. Now, the magnitude of the task, obviously to slow down Tatum, is going to be huge, but Tatum doesn't have the ball every single possession. He doesn't bring the ball up every single time, Emmanuel says they'll trade Drew, though. Pritchard is on the up. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think they'll factor that in a lot as well. But Porzingis is expensive and he's not durable. So who knows? They might sell high. I could see some crazy offers coming from Porzingis, man. If I'm the Lakers, like he's exactly what they need. Could you imagine Luka? Well, actually, I forget. That's not going to happen because of Luka. But in terms of fit, the Lakers could definitely do with Porzingis. Of course, we've got the KD, we've got the Giannis situation to play out. Man, it's going to be a hell of an off-season, but we ain't there yet. We're still fighting for our life. We're still alive in the Larry O'Brien fam. We'll have plenty of time to talk about what's next. But yeah, no doubt Giannis is going to be on the move. He was spotted in New York City today, walking with his family, talking about, I'm already hearing some, rumblings that the Brooklyn Nets are the front runners. We'll see how that plays out, I also hear that the Kevin Durant to the Knicks thing does have serious interest, serious legs to it. It's just going to come down to, there's going to be a lot of teams, in on that. But look, Shams has talked about himself that there is mutual interest with the Kevin Durant scenario. Now, next up, Josh Hart. What a series Josh Hart has had. We've had the good, the bad, the ugly, but there isn't any other way without that, with Josh Hart. Tonight he was incredible, man. Double-double, 13 and 10, 4 assists, a block, plus 13, team high. His facilitating is badly needed. And I understand why Tibbs has him with the starters. I really understand that. At the same time, it's not optimal for so much of the game. 34 minutes. But you see, when he's off the floor, guys, we saw what happened in the late third, early fourth. The Knicks just missed some ball handling. What's going to happen when they trap Brunson? McCall had the ball stripped. I thought he was fouled on that one when Timmy Hardaway hand checked him. But basically, we were missing a guy that could actually handle the ball without getting stripped. And so Hart was been, vital to the Knicks win in this series. Knocked down his 3 tonight. Knocked down all 6 free throws as well. The form looked really good. The form looked good on the 3 as well. I think there is a shooter there somewhere. Somewhere down beneath, there is a shooter within Josh Hart. He just needs to be confident. He needs to be confident, trust his shot, and practice. Practice makes perfect. And I feel like, look at tonight, man. Perfect from the free throw line, perfect from downtown. Having said that, I still feel like Hart's future with this team is coming off the bench. If and when we make an upgrade, with some additions. But Hart playing 40 minutes, I don't think that is the way forward. 30 minutes, that's healthy, but mix and match the lineups. But Hart is so important to this team. His determination, his grit, and his skill set is exactly what is needed. He's a proven playoff performer. I feel like, he's a guy that has been well above average over all these playoff games, and it's probably a different story without him. So I'm going to give Josh Hart an A- on the series. He's had his imprint basically over every game, and his rebounding is insane. His playmaking and his experience is key as well. One of the best role players in the league. We just have to adjust with, the minutes. Emmanuel says KP, agree, is not durable. Buzzer says Deuce can be traded, but is he on a team-friendly deal? He is on a really team-friendly deal, and we'll talk about Deuce up next after we've just given McCall his flowers. But another rough game from Deuce, a rough series, and I really feel like something's bothering him. I'm not going to believe that this is the real Deuce McBride. I'm definitely still keeping Deuce. I think he's having a down series. We've seen enough from Deuce to say that, this can be an aberration. He was injured, to conclude the regular season, and I feel like something's bothering Deuce. There's so much upside, and he has to be better. But at the same time, if he has to be in a bigger trade to get a superstar, then no one's untradeable. But it just depends on what the deal looks like. Buzzerbeater says Hart has to work on his 3 ball. If he did, Knicks are champs. And getting him downhill. Some of those fast break finishes, man. He's got such a skill finishing in transition, right? I wish players would learn how to finish in transition like J Hart, fam. And his passing. Look at this play. Perfect hockey assist, or assist. Recognizes the open man and just pushes it out to him immediately. But at the same time, there's some boneheaded turnovers. But Hart just says that's what you're going to get. You get the good, the bad, the ugly. I think you just don't have to rely on Hart too much. And ideally, if the Knicks can get another 6-man, then they can rotate. If the Knicks were to get a Colin Sexton, a player that can come in with experience off the bench, score, facilitate, handle a bit, I think that will take a huge load off of Hart. Kind of like if we had Dante still, you know. Uh, Buzzer gives Josh the A as well. Every team needs a glue guy. Yeah, he just gets it, you know. He elevates his play, you know, in the playoffs. Him and OG and Brunson, obviously. Um, and I can't leave out Cat. You know, Cat deserves to be in that conversation now. He's you know, increased his level, I think, in the playoffs, you know. Who could forget game 3 and game 4, man? The incredible shot making. Some of the best shot making we've seen all season. And that's including Brunson. Some of the shots Cat made, you know, we're not having this conversation right now without Karl Anthony Towns. You know, simply put, games 3 and game 4 was incredible, man, from Cat, and that's why we traded for the man. You know, he's just a better offensive player than Julius Randle. However, the trade has really worked out, you know, for both teams. Now, next up, the man, the much maligned, Mikal Bridges, right? As we had Patrick Ewing in the building, man. The Knicks had that fighting spirit because the big Pat was in the house. Salute to Patrick. Mikal Bridges, man, he came to play. He stepped it up. Great place to start. Let's talk about this. The Knicks struggling in the third quarters. Mikal Bridges suggests maybe the team should come out and put up some layups. And what did they do? They did that, and it paid off, man. So shout out to Bridges for suggesting that. You know, why didn't they do that earlier? But it came in the nick of time, and the New York Knicks benefited from you know, the early fast start in the third quarter. Unfortunately, they didn't close the quarter great, but we really did start the quarter well, finally, and it got guys going, man. It got their shots up. They were in a bit of a rhythm, and I think they should continue to do that, man. Hopefully they will. So that's the experience. That's the input from Bridges. Good assist from Bridges, driving aggressively, and got the kick out to Hart. So another great play from Bridges. He's a 3-level player, you know, dribble, pass, and shoot. Dribble, pass, and shoot, and that's why we traded those picks for Mikal Bridges, you know. And yet, you know, we need more defensively, I think, from him. But yeah, his shot making was all over this game. First quarter, he was money. And the only difference that I really saw tonight with Mikal Bridges is the aggression. He wanted it, and he wasn't afraid. And he took contact at times, got to the line, had the big poster on Cade. And I hope to see this more consistently. Best believe that the next round could be a Mikal Bridges series, right? As we have the poster up next on Cade. There was another dish to OG. And yeah, this was the poster. Great block from OG, transition, basket. Yep. Took the contact and threw it down. Mikal Bridges, man, that's the aggression we need moving forward. So, hey, the book ain't done yet, you know, on the season with Mikal Bridges, you know. Maybe things, you know, maybe we were in for a surprise in the next round. It's been an underwhelming first year, but obviously the first round, the way this game went tonight, you know, does go away to, you know, to feel some optimism that this can all work out with this core of guys, and you know, we're going to see the biggest test. We're going to see the biggest test yet, man. I know a lot of fans are just saying it right now. Can we just see a competitive series? I think we will. I think we will see a competitive series. But for me, it's in the process. You know, I want us to just focus on the process. How are we going to, you know, get an advantage against Boston? How are we going to win games? And focus on that, and let the rest sort itself out. I think the Knicks can steal one on the road, and then they're in the series. You know, but they have to come out with that level of fight. and grit. I think Boston can be vulnerable. So with the grade on the series for Mikal Bridges, let me think about it. We bring up the grade for Mikal. I'm going to go, let's go with a B minus. I'm going to go B minus for Mikal Bridges, right? Above average, big game, big closeout game tonight. Obviously did go missing in a couple other games throughout the series. But yeah, is critical to what the Knicks are trying to do. Dribble, pass, shoot. The ball needs to move better, but when Bridges has it, he has to be aggressive. That's the only way that guys like Bridges, guys like Brunson and OG and Cat are going to get freed up. If Bridges is kind of happy in the corner and he's kind of, shrinking in the moment, the pressure on the other guys steps up. But when Bridges is making plays and he's aggressive and he gets to the cup, tries to draw contact, that's going to help. That's going to help a lot. That play where he got stripped, I thought he was fouled. He could have drove with a bit more conviction, I think, on that one. But he's missed so many threes, man. He's missed so many critical threes, wide open threes as well. So there's a lot of room for improvement as far as I'm concerned with Mikal. Like AJ says, yeah, he's the biggest wild card for success. And yeah, he was my X factor in the series. Looking back now, it didn't work out that way because the X factor was probably the real X factor for this series was probably Mitch. But yeah, wild card definitely with Mikal. We're going to talk about Mitchie and Deuce up next. How about Mitch, man? Dealing with the hacker Mitch, splitting those free throws was key. Coming in late with Cat fouling out as well. Big experience, big minutes from Mitchell Robinson in this one. But just to re-clarify, these are my series grades, not just for tonight, but for the series overall. And now we move across to our bench. Yeah, as Buzzer says, to hell with a competitive series. We want to win. We want to win, we want to prove the naysayers wrong and prove that we belong. We belong on this stage. And the longer we can hang around in that series, we will be underdogs. I think we probably prefer that stance to be the underdog. I think we didn't really deal with being the favorite in this series very well. But now we're heading in with a chip on our shoulder, man. We've lost all 4 games to Boston, and here we are, right? How do we fix the bench? What do we do, man? So Tibbs went away from Landry. Couple of games, no Landry, Shamet, no PJ Tucker in this series, no Kolek, no Dardier, no Precious, and no DeLon Wright. It was all Deuce, Payne, Mitch, and a little bit of Shamet early. I would like to see DeLon Wright. He's the first name I'm calling. Between Cam and Deuce, I don't know if you can make up a complete player. If you half those two, we're still lacking. So I feel like DeLon Wright, probably the perfect guy to get active in the next series. I think defensively, he can be a ball hawk. He can, his size on Derek White, I think could be key. Derek White can kind of bully Deuce a little bit. Pritchard, I don't think he's going to be able to bully a DeLon Wright, who's a demon in the steals deflections category. I think he's a better on-ball defender. If he can knock down some open shots, that would be key. Let's see how it goes, man. Landry, I'm not sold, man. I was really hoping for a Landry series because he finished the regular season great, man. We all had high hopes for Landry, but he was a nobody in this series. a liability. And so we have to find someone, man. The bodies are going to definitely get tired. DeLon Wright, Precious, or PJ. I think we might need Precious in this next series. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, DeLon's the first guy I'm calling, man. We need some steady ball handling, run some plays. He can get downhill a little bit. Can DeLon Wright? He showed that he can finish at the rim. He can attack, and he can hit the open three. Let's see how it plays out, man. But yeah, Deuce Cam. I mean, if in an alternate universe, if I was sitting here talking about a loss tonight and a game 7, I would have been talking about the bench, right? They just lost it, man. Whenever Hart or Brunson go out of the game, it's a train wreck. Cam just has no feel for the flow of the game, right? We're up 9, we're up 11, and he just takes an early shot. He's always aggressive, and I like that, but he just, you live and die with his shot selection. And any time that he misses the floater and he falls to the ground, or he takes a 3-point heave, it ends up in a fast break, the other end. We just need to learn to just calm the F down throughout these games, especially when you're on the road. I think Cam Payne is the perfect MSG player. You got the crowd on your side, he's going to hype up the crowd. But when we're on the road, it's kind of like the opposite. He has to play under more control, pick his spots. But yeah, right now, he's just been brutal, man. Outside of game 1, he started the series like a bat out of hell. He started the series on fire, winning us game 1, but then it fell off a cliff after that. So let's see what Tibbs does, man. The thing is about the Pistons, man. The thing about the Celtics, sorry, is you guys all know how much of a talent upgrade they are, and if we are getting killed with the bench minutes, we're gonna get we're gonna be in for it up against Boston. So that's a situation where, yeah, bring me DeLon Wright. Buzzer, is Huck a better free throw shooter than Mitchie? Unfortunately, no, man. I think they're about even. Maybe slightly better. Huck maybe slightly better, but he's got a little bit more arc on his shot. But yeah, he's definitely not reliable either, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't see Huck Porty getting any minutes in this series outside of foul trouble and injuries. Look, Mitchie's earned his stripes, definitely. Yeah, Emmanuel says Payne is an emotional player. Yeah, he feeds off the crowd, the energy. Definitely. Yeah, you guys are on point. Rye says big time. Hate seeing the Knicks nervously chuck up those contested shots. Yep. Run some sets. I think Payne forgets that he's a point guard first, I like his aggression to score, and you need that sometimes. But don't forget that you're a point guard first, Like, navigate some players, get them organized like Kolek does. If a rookie like Kolek does it, we've seen it throughout the season, direct some traffic and say, right, you guys get on the block, pull a guy, over to you and get some 2-man screen and roll going, and get a guy, posted up on the block or something. It can't always be Cam Payne at the top of the perimeter, coming off the curl downhill, trying to shoot a rainbow floater or a teardrop, or a contested 3. So yeah, I would like some more guys to get a chance. We'll see what happens, man. It looks like Tibbs has kind of made up his mind on that one. Yeah, look, the bench was into it, man. Right, definitely scenes tonight. Look at Kevin McCullough, man. Is that Kevin McCullough in the white tee? He was going crazy. Look at Dardier on that one. I think this was the McCall dunk, because I think they're talking about Pacome doing the on his head. as well. Landry's pulling Tyler off the court. I like that. Yep, pulling him away. Yeah, so good vibes in this one, man. It's going to bring this team closer together. Definitely winning on the road. But man, we got to correct the issues at home, man. Um, Emmanuel says he may be better against Boston though, because I'm not impressed with their pressure defensive ability at all. Yeah, look, another series down. Boston are different this series. They're dealing with some stuff with Brown, with Porzingis, with Tatum as well. I think, like I said before, now's our best chance. We can hopefully sting like a bee, man, float like a butterfly, Muhammad Ali. With this one, but man, what a read from Cade. Yeah, that's the thing. That's solid defense from the Knicks because you're making them make a late second. It was a heavy contest on Cade, and you're making him give up the rock, and that's what the Knicks did well. They executed, man, and the captain. Yep, yeah, guys are hyped up, absolute scenes. Danny says go to a ball game in Europe once. Crazy fans, jumping, singing, throwing smoke flares. There's nothing like it in the NBA. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that, man. Respect to that, and it'd be interesting if the NBA do start their European league as well. Here in Australia, we have open top arena as well. So under the sky, you get fireworks. You do get the sunset with the open roof. I know some of these arenas got a retracting roof. That's a great atmosphere as well. Yeah, what a series, man! The Knicks close this baby out. Now, in terms of the bench, like, I mean, we won the series. We need more from Deuce, from Payne. Mitchie, though, got to give Mitchie's flowers in this one. Because, firstly, thank the Lord that he's healthy. Mitchell Robinson got through a first-round series, and he's fully healthy right now. So, blessings, prayers up, and gratitude for that. Mitchie finished with 13 minutes tonight. I mean, they were putting him in tough situations, in the dunker spot, firing, low passes to him. That's on campaign as well. Mitch's ability, though, to deter shots and he'd use his length was key throughout the series. He didn't have a great night tonight, but, he's impactful. Hit 1 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 1 offensive rebound, no steal or block. But yeah, great experience for Mitch to grow in his playoff situations. And yeah, he impacted the series. I think I would have liked to see Mitch play more. The double big lineups. Maybe Tibbs is going to go away now. Look at more of the data. But yeah, defensively, we're more stout with the double big lineups. And you had Cat in foul trouble tonight, foul out. So we have to do, better at the lineup situations. However, next series is going to be different because you got, 5 out lineups with Boston, the shooters available. Is Mitch an ideal fit for the Boston series? Now, ideally, you would say no. However, if Porzingis is out, Horford, we'll see how they look to exploit. We'll see how they look to exploit that situation. But, Mitch is still that player that you can bring on late possession to trap, double, and use his length, his wingspan to obviously play drop, defend the hoop. And yeah, it'll be a great test. We'll see what happens, man. I think a lot is riding on this next series now, guys, as we put a bow, tie a bow on this series now. Look ahead. The work ain't done yet. We expected to advance past the first round, and let's make serious noise. Now, the next series is going to be a lot to come out of it. How do we move forward with the Cat 5 lineup with Mitch? What do we do with Josh Hart next season in terms of starting, coming off the bench? This Boston series is going to test everything about the Knicks roster and coach, because they are at the apex. You know, you can beat Boston and you can literally win the championship. So that's the goalpost right now, and we're going to be able to go up against them and see how this roster, stacks up. We didn't get that last season, man. Unfortunately, bodies went down. Indiana stepped in the way, but here we are. 12 months later, we finally get that series now that we wanted to see. I think it's going to break. I think it's going to records in terms of TV audience, viewership. I think Boston Knicks, especially if the Knicks can win one of the first two on the road, and the series is competitive, then I think, yeah, this is the Knicks' chance, man. Forget about the regular season now; that's over, and our national TV record. Let's rest up and take it to these guys, man. Who knows what happens in the next series? What if Indiana was able to upset Cleveland? What do you guys think about that? I'll do a quick score check with the Nuggets, Clippers. Oh my goodness. It looks like that one is going 7, ladies and gentlemen. The Clippers are up 102-88 with 7 to play. Just over 7 to play in the fourth quarter of Game 6. The LA Clippers, man, about to force this one to 7. And I believe this is in... I believe this game is in LA. Yeah. So Game 7 would be hosted in Denver. So, man, that's great. I like that series going 7. We'll see if the Nuggets can make a quick comeback. But, yeah, Emmanuel says the TV ratings are going to be record-breaking. 100%. We'll see how that plays out. The Claws got 26 points. Harden's got 28. Norm Powell, 19. The Joker's got 23. Jamal Murray coming off a 40-piece in that last one. Tendrell says Mitchie was solid. If he could catch passes and hit free throws, he'd be an all-star. Yeah, I feel like he can switch on the perimeter. I think I remember that possession where he switched out onto Cade. Was it Cade or Schroeder? Yeah, he's looking nimble. He's looking healthy. I think that's a big tick moving forward. So as far as I'm concerned, Mitch is a part of the future for next season. Now, can the Knicks, fortify that position and sign another depth piece? I think would be key. Or if they believe that Huck Porty is that guy, we'll see what happens in Summer League. I think Huck Porty is going to get major burn in the Summer League. We'll see how his knees are holding up. Big Dave says Mitchie should be in at the end of quarters and before they are in the penalty. We need to time his minutes better. Yeah, 100% agree. Great points, fam. I feel like, they couldn't really use the hacker Mitch early in the quarters because, we weren't in the bonus. They weren't in the bonus. Great learning experience, building block. Mitch got through healthy. He was impactful. An X factor, 100%. Now, we wasn't against Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, but he still was a plus, I feel like, in terms of helping the Knicks in this series. He hit some major shots as well. Some alley-oops, rebounds, putbacks as well. And look, Mitch is still that guy that sets best screens. Like, Cat doesn't set great screens. And you need Mitchie to help free up some of the shooters, and free up some of the action. So, yeah, Mitchie does a lot of things that don't show up on the box score, which we all knew. But obviously, we just hadn't seen him enough this season after the late, comeback. So I'm just refreshing some of the wash up and the reaction from the national media. And we've got some clutch images of Brunson. Knicks PR account says Brunson scored 40 points tonight against Detroit. This marks the 7th career 40-plus point playoff game as a Knick, which is tied with Bernard King for the most in franchise history, ladies and gentlemen. So JB ties Bernard King with his 7th 40-point game play in the playoffs, which is tied Bernard King, man. So looks like by the end of this playoff run, I think he'll be ahead of Bernard King, assuming we get a 40 piece. A reaction at the podium from Malik Beasley, the villain who was talking smack all series. Malik Beasley says that it's been us against the world, our team. Osar was pissed. He is the best defender in the world. I'm the best shooter in the world. All right, so it's going to be like that. Assumingly, I haven't seen any other quotes. Maybe Malik Beasley hasn't given the Knicks any props, but who cares, man? He was never going to give us any props, man. Disrespected us, and I gave Pistons respect. Yeah, at the end of the day, the better team won, and we move on. We have Jay Williams, man, a Chi-Town native, right? Pay props to Jalen Brunson. Jay Williams says clutch isn't a stat, it's a mindset, and Jalen Brunson has it in his DNA, right? I'll bring up the full quote. First in usage, first in field goals made, just hit the dagger to send Detroit home. Keep doubting him, he keeps closing. That's not luck, that's legacy in the making. Wow. That's serious words from Jay Will on that one. Clutch isn't a stat, it's a mindset. I love that. That's not luck, that's legacy in the making. Keep doubting him, he keeps closing. Yep. NBA Clutch Player of the Year. And look, I'm happy the way the series ended because, you know, there was obviously a lot of discourse about Jalen Brunson. But look, we know who Jalen Brunson is. He's an undersized point guard with incredible scoring abilities, and he tries to create the best advantages for his team. I don't believe he's a foul baiter and a flopper. I believe that that's a different category. I believe he is a player that, you know, puts himself in positions to create advantages. A foul baiter and a flopper is someone like James Harden, you know, with the Houston Rockets, where he would literally set up the move just to draw the closeout foul. Trae Young is another player like that as well. Look, at the end of the day, I'm so happy that JB's getting his flowers right now. Speaking of flowers, Emmanuel with the contribution and the super sticker. Appreciate you, fam. Great to have you with us. What a ride. What a ride this season has been, man. Everyone should feel proud. Definitely this team made work more difficult, but, you know, adversity builds character. And at the end of the day, you know, you get to the destination. It don't matter how you get there, you know, as long as you get to your destination. And the New York Knicks have that series lined up now against Boston. Let's have at it. You know, let's get after them. You know, so yeah, speechless. Empire State Building. I'm going to bring up these graphics now, coming through thick and fast as we continue to react, man. We're doing overtime tonight. Knicks win. New York State of Mind. Empire State lit up orange and blue for the series win over Detroit. So that's back to back to back first round playoff wins, right, for these New York Knicks. Next up, Opta Stats. The Knicks, Jalen Brunson, 2024, 41 points and 12 assists in Philadelphia to eliminate the Sixers. 2025, 40 points and 7 assists in Detroit to eliminate these Pistons. The only other NBA player to have 40 plus and 5 dimes on the road closeout win twice in his career is MJ. Fam. So another FU to the haters in terms of best player in the series. You know, it's not even a debate. You know, it was never a debate with that one, man. Tim Bontemps, ESPN, says Knicks Pistons was a great series, but ultimately the difference was Jalen Brunson making plays in closing moments and Cade Cunningham failing to. Cunningham will be better off for this experience by a long shot moving forward, but it'll be a long summer fueled by how this went. Right. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Nike basketball. Playoff Brunson is real, folks. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable scenes. What a reaction coming through, man, from the media. We have the back page of the New York Post. Legend, Captain Clutch adds to his lore as Knicks survive Pistons war. Legend. What a clutch basket, man, on the road. What a reaction in this one. Manuel says concrete jungle where dreams are made of. No doubt. I think the mental makeup is just ridiculous. Like that play where Brunson almost lost his balance. Like I just couldn't believe it. Allen Houston knows all about big playoff clutch moments and closing out the series. Allen Houston tweets out double bang to the video of JB's game-winning, series-winning 3. Kendrick Perkins done a bit of flip-flopping recently. Kendrick Big Perk says, you know who is damn name Big Body Brunson, another legendary post-season performance. Magic Johnson says when it was time to win, Brunson scored 40, including a game-winning 3 that was set up by one of the most unbelievable crossover dribbles I've ever seen. The New York Knicks closed out the Pistons in a 4-2 thriller. Pistons content creator, Pistons Jack, says, good game, New York. Broken heart emoji. Brunson too good in the end. Yep. Skip Bayless, little Jalen Brunson has big clutch guts. He illegally created a wide open 3, but he was just 2 of 9 from 3 and he nailed the series ender. Let's get it. Let's get it in the next series. JB Bitterstaff on Osar Thompson guarding Brunson on the game winner. He says he's guarding one of the most difficult matchups in the NBA. You got to tip your hat to Brunson. He's hard to guard. How he can generate space at his size is remarkable. Shaking his head. So finally got some props coming, but obviously the coach is headed home now. And the Pistons coach is paying props to his guy Osar and also Jalen Brunson. Hard to guard. How he can generate space at his size is remarkable. Hey, he puts in the work, you know. He puts in that work, and he's always in the gym, you know. Practice makes perfect for everyone out here. The double bang moment, man, insane. Earlier today, Malik Beasley at the shoot-around said the Pistons are the more mentally stronger team. And tonight he fumbled what could have been the shot that tied it up. Yeah, what a series, ladies and gentlemen. Experience did count in the end. You know, I know a lot of people were talking about, like, you know, the Knicks have the advantage. They have the experience. Pistons don't. And up until now, it's been debatable because the New York Knicks had been struggling through some of these stretches tonight without JB, but we came through. We came through, man. Yeah, footwork is tough, but he continues to practice those scenarios, man. Emmanuel says Jordan BK, he may end up being considered one of the top 5 playoff players of all time by the end of his career, and definitely with a chip. What a blessing JB has been to us as Knicks fans. Yeah. If you continue the Dallas career, when he put up 40 with Luka out, he's just getting started. But I'll say this again. I've said it before. I think we rely too much on Brunson, and I think ideally we don't need to see this all the time. We know that he's capable of doing it now, but hopefully in the future, beyond this season, next season, we can get some more shot makers, and so that Brunson can be a decoy sometimes and use his gravitas, kind of like the way, Golden State run their offense with Steph Curry, while everyone's focused on Steph chasing him around the screens and that, somebody cuts back door and gets an easy basket, right? Because the way our offense is run, the gravity that Brunson is pulling should, in theory, make an easy shot available for somebody else. But we're just having to work too hard, and we're not spaced out correctly. Guys aren't setting good enough picks. Also, that goes into it. You got to set a hard pick so that Brunson can get free, and that the guy that sets the pick can roll. If you don't set a good pick, then it doesn't free up Brunson, and it creates that isolation situation. So, yeah, we'll have time to do a lot of breakdowns, guys, but the Knicks got it done. The attention is in the detail. I know a lot of people say they don't like that isolation, basketball, one-on-one dribbling and all of that. That isn't the goal. That ends up happening because sometimes the player doesn't cut at the right spot. Sometimes the pick isn't strong enough, and all of those things, all of those little breakdowns that go into it. But when all else fails, and you need someone to step up and bail you out, man, there's no better guy. There's no other guy that I would rather have right now. And what a legend, as the caption says. We had many legends in the building tonight. We had you guys. We had Patrick Ewing. We had, Walt Clyde Frazier on potentially his final playoff Knicks call. We'll wait further on that. But the series is done now, and let's look ahead as the orange and blue skies prevail in this one, man. 4-2. Feeling a sense of pride because we did it. We did it on the road. I predicted in 6. I would really wanted it to end in 5, but we got it done. Here we are, and no letdowns now. Take advantage of this opportunity. Capitalize, as these guys will continue to prove the doubters wrong. Continue to play with a chip on the shoulder, build their playoff legacy, playoff resumes, man. Playoffs are a different beast right now. I feel like the Pistons really learned a hard lesson from the hard knocks. They'll be a lot better next season. I think for this first round series, we'll be better. I think both teams, learned a lot. Respect your opponent. Show up when the moment's big, and definitely come to play, man, with that grit, that fight. And let's hope, man, that we can really push Boston back off their perch right now. We've got the soldiers to do it. Let's hope they've got a lot left in the tank in this one, man. Peace to everyone. Salute. Orange and blue. The streets are buzzing as we did it. and on to the next, man. Let's talk about it. I'll be live, man, tomorrow, and we'll revisit and the wash up as the dust settles. We'll look ahead, but yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow night, man. Looking forward to previewing the Boston series. Looks like some Boston content creator wants to have a chat, so we'll see what plays out, fam. But I appreciate your vibes tonight, man. You guys brought the vibes, as only Knicks fans can in this one, man. That viewing site, the block party, would be crazy, and I can't wait to check it out. Peace, everyone. Let's go, Knicks.